Hello. Thought I was going to jump up and yell, but no. Hello. How is everyone doing today? Annyeong. That's usually what I say at the beginning of my videos. Let's see. Where's everyone watching from, first of all? KS Sharma says that you're watching from India, and you say it's 2 a.m. in India. Wow. 2 a.m. It was actually just daylight savings here, daylight savings time in the US, so the time changed 1 hour earlier. But not everywhere in the world does daylight savings time. In fact, it might only be a US thing. I'm actually not sure. Is it only US that does this dumb thing? But yeah, so the time could be a little bit different than usual if you come to these streams regularly. If it's your very first time, though, you'll never know that it's not always at this time. Hey, Aniki. Yes. Alberta, Canada. Someone else watching from Los Angeles. Australia. England. Poland. Another Los Angeles. Excuse me. North Carolina. Canada, you do this too. Yeah. Another in Canada. We do it in England. I'm sorry. You know, actually, I prefer the daylight savings time. The time that we have right now is better. I don't like when they switch it off. That makes sense. I don't like when they remove it and then goes back, like, just to get the extra hour of, to get the hour later of sun in the winter time. I wish it just was this time all the time. In fact, I think most people prefer that as well for the sunlight. They just prefer this. For regular, it should always be this daylight savings time, not going back and forth. It's tiring. Yes. See, Europe does it too, but we do it a little later. Okay. Middle East. Where in the Middle East? Reese says, same. I feel depressed during this time. It's because you're tired. It's just your brain chemicals not working all the right way. You'll be better, but gotta give it a few days to adjust. You know what's really hard though is if you fly to or from Korea and then you're not living in a country that's close to there, then your brain's like swapped with day and night. And during the nighttime, you're still tired because you're just tired, but it's hard. You're also tired during the daytime when you're supposed to be awake. And then when it's nighttime, you feel like not really tired. You do, but you feel really hungry. And then during the daytime, you don't feel hungry. Like you'll have a big meal and you're like, oh, I ate too much, because your body thinks it's like 2 or 3 in the morning when it's your lunchtime. So you don't want to eat a lot of food. And then at nighttime, you get really hungry. You're like, oh, I can't eat. It's really hard to adjust. I do have some tips though for adjusting, since I've now been to Korea and back dozens of times. I don't know. I can't count how many times I've been to Korea now. I've taken the flight at least like 20 times, if not more, like the round trip flight. So, 40 of those flights. So I'm pretty good with knowing what to do. There's some stuff you just can't avoid, but I do know some general tips for how you can get over that a little bit better. If anyone's interested in that, maybe I can talk about those. Hey, Joe Turner. Georgia says, I'm a really new beginner trying to learn how to blend my vowel and consonants. Given any recommendation? Do you have any recommendation? Blending your vowels and consonants together? No, not really, because I can give you tips for more natural pronunciation once you get there, once you can make the general sounds. But in order to make the general sounds, it just takes a lot of practice and exposure. You can't just listen to the sounds and be able to make them, and you can't just try to make the sounds and be able to make them. Because none of the Korean sounds, despite what you may think, none of the Korean sounds match with English sounds. None of them. None of the letters do. Like some of them are close. Like you might say, oh, well, the M kind of sounds like an M. We say ham. You go out and buy a ham. Korean doesn't do like that. They don't make that long sound. They say hem. It's a short sound. So everything's different when it's at the beginning of a word as well. Like you might eat some maratang, ma. Korean, we would say ma, like, right? We do the harder M's. So none of the sounds match perfectly with English. So it's just a thing you have to get used to, is allowing yourself to not be perfect at Korean right away, telling yourself it's okay if I'm not perfect. That's something I think that I wish I knew in the beginning, that I kept thinking like, oh, I need to get this, I should hurry up and learn this, why is it taking me so long? How come other people can do it fast? Other people are not doing it much faster, believe me. Just tell yourself it's okay to to take time to get fast at reading, to get fast at speaking. It just takes a long time. And don't underestimate practicing. Like that's really the missing thing that a lot of people have, is not practicing enough. Let's see what else we got. Arizona, we do not participate in dailings. That's right. Arizona does not. Arizona people, they're like, they've had it. They're dealing with way too much stuff. They're like, have you been to Arizona during the summertime? You see what we have to deal with? You want to add this to what we have to deal with? No. So yeah, Arizona people are like, we've had enough. No daylight savings. I mean, considering that daylight savings was implemented to get people like, to start work and, match your work times with the sun, because before artificial lighting was super, super common every single place. But like Arizona, it's like bright as heck all the time. You don't need it. Iran in the Middle East, 1 a.m. Nice. Music City, Nashville, Tennessee. Isn't that where No, I was gonna say Sandy from SpongeBob. No, she's from Texas. That's right. I remember that episode now. Tennessee. Who is from Tennessee? There gotta be so much of famous people from Tennessee. Besides, of course, the Colonel Sanders guy. Germany. KS says, can I learn and become fluent in Korean without any books? Of course. Just books are not an essential part of studying Korean. They are to help you. It's like saying, can I become a doctor without reading any books? Like, I mean, if you are being mentored by someone, they're teaching you Korean. Yeah, you don't need books necessarily. Books are for self-studying. If you're living in the country and you have plenty of opportunities to practice, like you're living together with Koreans, you have to work there and speak Korean every day, you'll get Korean fine without any books. You'll miss some grammar rules. You might say some things awkward because you didn't grow up there, but yeah, you can learn it. The books are to help supplement a part of what you're missing by not having that, growing up in that sort of Korean environment, but they're not like a necessity in every situation. Linda says, intonation's the hardest thing for me. I do have a video coming up about intonation, so look out for it, but I don't know when it is. Actually, is that? No, not next week. It'll be up sometime by the summer. You'll see a video all about intonation. Let's see. Aria says, I don't know how to thank you. I never learned from any teacher as much as your channel. I get that sort of comment often. I like that kind of comment, that I can be helpful. I think that's my benefit. My one thing that I can do well is being able to explain things from a non-native point of view. And I think no matter how good your Korean is, as a native speaker, no matter how much you've learned, you're not going to speak two languages at the complete native level simultaneously. One of them is always going to be stronger. So if a Korean is explaining things in Korean, it's going to be from their point of view. So I think I can offer that as something that's a different side of that, as someone who's gone through it and had to learn it. But yeah, appreciate it. And for anyone just joining in, we haven't started the class yet. We're just kind of hanging out. We always do this for a little bit before we start. We'll start right at the top of the hour, which is going to be 2 o'clock in Pacific Standard Time. Right now it's 1:46. So about 14 minutes from now, we'll start the actual lesson. Let's see. Someone asked, what's the average time to get fluent? I have a video about how long does it take to learn Korean. That's all I'll say. It's not a one sentence answer. Let's see. How often would you recommend practicing to increase fluency? How much Korean do you want to be able to speak? Do you want to be able to get by and have basic conversations? I wouldn't worry about it. If you're trying to actually get fluent, you need to be practicing as much as someone who is fluent in the language would use the language, which is daily. Let's see. How do you feel about using Pimsleur? I've never used Pimsleur for Korean, so I can't talk about that. Duolingo for Korean. I've also never used Duolingo at all. I only know what other people have told me about it, and I have not heard anyone recommend it. But I have personally never used it. For good reason, though. But I mean, it's not for people who are... it's not for... I won't say too much bad about it. I'll just say I've never heard anyone recommend it. Other Korean learners, other Korean teachers, but I myself have never used it. Oh, that's always, they're so sour. Let's see. Anna asks an interesting question. Do you think someone with a second language, judging by your last name, I think you're talking about yourself. For example, let's just say Italian. I know it's a stereotype of moving your hands a lot in Italy and for Italian people, but I mean, it's kind of true, isn't it? You do use your hands a lot. In contrast, Korean people overly do not use their hands for body language. They have body language, but a lot, but it's not with their hands. Like we do this in English. Americans do this. Italians do it even more. Koreans don't do it. So when I'm talking with Koreans, I try to keep my hand language much simpler. They do some hand motion, but it's always like in relation to what they're talking about. Like if they're comparing something, they might make like a comparison sort of gesture, but they're not going to be like, like we're a used car salesman when we're talking in English. They don't do that sort of thing. It looks really awkward if you do that while speaking Korean. As far as pronunciation or intonation, the only benefit is you'll have an advantage for certain sounds that are closer to sounds that you have in your language. Like if it's a sound that English speakers from America have trouble with in Korean, like the lier sound, for example. Well, in Spanish, they have the trill, what do you call it? The rolling R's, like arriba, like you have that R sound or that in their language already. So even though that's not the same as the Korean sound, it's closer than what we have in English. So it can be easier to pick up that sound because you hear, oh, it's kind of like this, just without the roll and a little bit different. Yeah, I get it. They're similar sounds. People who speak some Indian languages as well, I've heard, they say, what's that language? Anyway, I'm not sure. There are lots of languages over there, but one of the main languages, I heard that they said there are some sounds in Korean that are similar to what they do, like double consonants and stuff like that. And so if you have a language that has some similarities with the sounds in Korean, that will definitely be helpful to first grasp those sounds. But beyond the basics, beyond those early levels where you'll have a little bit of an advantage, it all levels out. Everyone has the same uphill battle. And I've heard this too as well for people who speak Korean. They say, oh, it's so much easier for Koreans to learn Japanese because of the languages in the world, the most similar to Korean is Japanese. Although the languages aren't related, doesn't really matter. They still have many similarities. So people will mistakenly believe that if you know one language, one of those, Korean or Japanese, you can not more easily, it is true, it's more easily, but you won't have much trouble to learn the other. You just learn some new words and stuff. But again, the languages aren't anything alike beyond a surface level. So once you get over that early advantage, it levels out, and it's the same for anyone. So if someone's Japanese and speaks very good Korean, that's a rarity. I've met so many Japanese people that can speak some Korean, and I've met so many Koreans. In fact, I'd say the majority of Korean people speak some Japanese, because it's like people living in California who learn Spanish. Like, you can accidentally learn some Spanish just because you'll pass by it all the time. You'll see it on signs. You know, you're walking and you hear someone say it. You mistakenly go to the Mexican soap opera channel and then mistakenly keep going there every day for a week to find out what happens to Jose. Is he really leaving his wife? Like, you know what I'm talking about. You can easily pick up Spanish just from existing in California, even if you don't study the language. You're not going to be able to speak, but you'll learn something. So in Korea, Japanese is kind of like that. So most Koreans know some amount of Japanese, and a lot of young people can have basic conversations in Japanese. But beyond that basic level for every language, so Italian, Spanish, English, Japanese, any of the Indian languages, it all evens out. So it's rare for me to meet a Korean who actually speaks good Japanese, because they would have to go beyond that basic level. Not just nice to meet you, hello, what is your name? Not that. You have to actually still learn the language. So if someone actually speaks it, it's, oh, wow, that's great. You must have, how'd you learn it? Oh, I lived there for 10 years. It's always this sort of story. You don't meet people who like magically have good Korean because they come from this country. There's no such thing as that. If someone speaks Korean and they didn't grow up there and they're not from there, it's always impressive to me, because they still went through the same journey as me. Let's see. Aniki says, is 2 hours a week all right? Oh, actually, yeah, I'd say 2 hours a week is great. If you can get that consistently, 2 hours a week of speaking practice is great. Eventually, you'll need more than that when you're talking like, the advanced level. But for general conversation, I think that's great. Hindi, the main. Okay, I was thinking Hindi in the back of my head, but I'm like, I don't want to say like. That's why I was thinking Hindu, and I'm like, wait, Hindu is not a language. That's the religion, right? I don't want to say someone speaks Hindu any more than I would say they speak Buddhism. Like, doesn't make any sense. But I was like, no, it starts with an H. I'm sure it starts with an H. I'll think about it, and I couldn't think about it. It was Hindi. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you. Right. Hindi does have, I've heard, many similar sounds as Korean. And there are some other languages too. There are other languages that people will say, oh, this language is related to Korean because this and this. The current consensus among actual linguists, not fringe linguists that, say random things that no one else agrees with, but the majority of linguists out there, and I'm not included in that, I'm not a linguist, there's no current evidence to suggest that Korean is related to any other current language right now. So you don't have a huge step up by speaking a certain language when learning Korean. You still have to go through all the same steps. In India, there are more than 300 languages. I totally believe you. In fact, I think I had heard once that there are more than that, but just not as, like, if you include smaller, like dialects and stuff, there are even more than that. Let's see. Kevin says, I use Duolingo, but I see it mostly as a good way to motivate daily practice review. Okay. That's right. The Duolingo, that character is pretty scary. So maybe that'll motivate you to practice. Like, hey, I haven't seen you practicing in a little while. What's going on? You get the little notification on your phone. But you say it's terrible at teaching. Yeah, I assumed it didn't teach anything. The same goes for all current language apps. As far as I know, there are none that are teaching. It's all for like either motivating or review or yeah, that's pretty much it. That's not to say apps are bad, but taper, adjust your expectations. And I personally like Anki because it's just for reviewing vocab. It doesn't pretend to be anything else. But yeah, you can't learn a language from an app because learning a language is not only a process that you get from input. That's not how you learn a language, by just interacting with something and just getting input from it. Someone could sit next to you 24/7 and talk in Korean, and 10 years later, you're not going to speak very much. You have to have the ability to communicate back to improve yourself. And not just speaking and listening, but all forms of Korean if you actually want to get well-rounded at using the language. So that would be reading and writing as well. But at least for speaking, you need to do both. And an app is able to provide you a little bit of this, but none of this. At least not language learning apps. Okay, just a couple more minutes, then we're going to start our live stream for today. Well, actually, we already started the live stream. We'll start the class. In case you missed it last week, there is a new project that I just released. What is this? Is this a new book? What is this? It is Korean Conversation Made Simple. Korean Conversation Made Simple. It is 25 fun and natural Korean conversations with detailed explanations, as I wrote right here. These are natural conversations that you might actually hear someone say. So it's not like textbook style. It hasn't been rewritten. So these were taken as they were. I didn't touch them. Like I didn't adjust. Oh, it's missing an object marker. Let me add that in. Nope. Oh, this word is kind of a little bit iffy. I don't know if I want to teach. Nope. Oh, this grammar is actually incorrect because the dictionary defines it. Nope. It's all in there. Includes some slang, incorrect Korean, spoken only grammar forms. So grammar you're not going to learn in a book because it's not actually an official grammar form, but that's how people use it. And yeah, lots of stuff. Over 1,000. That's actually a lot because these aren't basic. So over 1,000 additional words and grammar forms you're going to learn. There are audio files for every single conversation too, so you can actually listen to them. But yeah, just released. You can get it on Amazon or on my website, and there is a link on my channel or in the description. Okay, that's the end of this advertisement. Thanks for watching. I won't bug you about it again. Just want to make sure everyone knows it exists. And oh, if you're wondering what level it's for, if you are finishing the beginner course, then that's perfect. In fact, that's how I wrote the book was, should I explain this topic? I would check if I already taught it in the beginner course. If I did, then I wouldn't reteach it here, or I might add a quick reminder. But if it was something that wasn't in the beginner course, then I would definitely add it into here. So it's made to kind of act as a sequel to the beginner course. So if you're wondering, what can I do after the beginner course? Well, you can go straight into 100% natural Korean conversations. So you don't have to like keep taking small steps and learning more grammar. You can actually go right into the language at this point. Which also should let you know that at the end of the beginner course, you are fine to go straight into conversations. You'll just still need a dictionary for that. Okay. It is now 2 o'clock. And it is time. It is now time to start our lesson. The prerequisite for this course, for this lesson today, is that you need to know how to conjugate the you form already. You need to know how to conjugate verbs, because if you can't conjugate verbs, you can't make the casual form, and you can't speak Korean, you won't be able to talk with other people because you're not going to know how to make the verbs together. So at least learn this part first. Oh, and someone please get me some caffeine drink that's not sour and disgusting. Can someone get me that? I always drink the worst caffeine drinks every time because I don't, so it's all I could find at Walmart. Okay. Pan말. Literally, pan means half. 말 means words or speech. So 반말 literally means half speech. Is that important? No, but everyone seems to know this. This means casual speech. And casual speech is simply speech, any kind of speech that does not show any extra respect to the listener, the person who's listening. I'll say that again. It does not show any extra respect toward the listener. That is casual speech. It doesn't mean that it's rude. It doesn't mean that it's polite. It just does not give any extra respect to anyone else. It's just flat out saying something to the listener without any extra politeness or respect thrown in. It's just as is. So, what is the feeling then when someone uses casual speech? It conveys the feel of, I do not think that I need to show any extra respect toward you. So in itself, it's not rude. It just says, hey, I'm talking with you, the listener. Hey, I just don't feel like I need to show any extra respect for you. Okay? I just don't think I need to show any extra respect to you. Is that okay? That's what it conveys. That's the feeling. So that could be rude, but it also could be fine, right? Can you think about how that could be rude or how that could be fine? Just think about it for a second. In what situations do you think that's totally fine or actually good? And in what situations do you think that could be a bit rude or very rude, right? So I already said this, but I'm just going to state it again. So this is unrelated to who you're talking about. Oh, I got a donation. Hold on. Oh, Aniki. That's like, I'll just say it's like $4 in US because it doesn't convert exactly. For your caffeine drink. 넉넉했으면 좋겠어요. Hey, thank you, Aniki. 4 dabs for you. Let's see. Okay, so I'll say that again after the lights finish flashing. When you use casual speech, it's unrelated to the person that you're talking about. So if you've learned honorific speech and humble speech before, you already know that it's about who you're talking about and not who you're talking with. You can use honorific speech when you're talking with your friend because you're talking about someone else who you would want to be extra respectful toward. Casual speech is not. Casual speech is just for the person you're talking to. It's just for the listener. So when you use casual speech appropriately, actually, let me see here. Let's read. Let's see what you have. Okay, talking with friends, yeah. Not speaking with elders of a higher rank, yeah. When you talk with friends, yes, yes. Okay, that's exactly right. Linda says, I'm older than most people. I feel like I should still use polite, informal. You would still be polite. Yeah. In fact, if you want to learn about this in real excruciating detail, I have an entire course about politeness levels, and there are like 3 separate episodes at least that go into casual speech, and then like 21 more episodes that are about all of the speech levels and using them together. But yeah, so because it kind of has the feel of, I don't consider I need to show extra respect toward you, when it's used correctly, it's fine. But when it's used incorrectly, it can be impolite or rude. So when it's used correctly, again, it feels like you're saying, I don't need to show extra respect to you. It actually sounds friendly because it doesn't mean like, I don't respect you at all. It doesn't mean like that. It just means, hey, I don't think I need to show extra respect for you because we're friends. It has a friendly feel to it when it's used correctly. It's like, hey, bro, I'm not gonna, you know what? I'm just gonna skip straight to the point. No formalities here. You and me, we see eye to eye. We're the same level. You're cool. I'm cool. Here's what's up. That's the feeling it has. It's like, let's skip all of this. Normally Koreans have all the formalities. You got to show all your respects and blah, 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 blah. Forget all about that. You and me, we're bros, okay? I don't need any of that. It has a friendly feel when it's used correctly. When it's used incorrectly, like to your boss or to teachers, it feels like the same thing, but that is rude. If you go up to the president of Nigeria, do they have a president? I don't know. You go up to the president of Nigeria, okay? You've been invited to a special banquet and they're honoring you. And what do you do when you meet the president of Nigeria? I don't know. I've gone down this road and I can't leave now. You shake his hand, you bow, you're like looking around, making sure you're not offending anyone, oh yes, oh, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. You pull out all your formalities. What you don't do is walk in like this, sup bro? Oh, there we go. Hey, you don't do that because it's rude. It's friendly if it's used appropriately, but for people who it's not appropriate with, it just comes off like you should respect them, but you're not. Okay, so who do you use it with? Well, you use it with your close friends, obviously. Specifically, you'll use it with your close friends who are the same age as you or younger. You're not going to be using this with older friends, most likely. You can use it with your partners. So your boyfriend, your girlfriend, husband or wife, anything like that, probably okay. However, both of these will depend on your relationship with that person. You might be friends with someone, but they're actually older than you. Even though you've been friends for a while, they might still prefer to speak casually to you and you speak politely to them because they're older. Or maybe they're younger than you and they feel a bit uncomfortable with you speaking casually down to them. They feel a little bit uncomfortable with speaking casually to you, even though you're old. Sorry, not casually. Yeah. Okay, let me say this again. Or even if they're younger than you, they might feel uncomfortable to use casual speech together with you. They might want to use polite speech to you. Even if you can use casual speech to them, they might still feel like, oh, I respect you. I look up to you. I don't want to use casual speech to you. And it could be uncomfortable for some people. Hey, Phantom Ray, thank you. I'll put Phantom R to save space, save 2 characters. Thank you, Phantom. Give you 2 dabs. It depends on your relationship with the person. So if you don't know, should I speak casually or politely with this friend or anything? Ask. They'll tell you. Just be like, oh, I don't really know. What do you prefer? They'll tell you what they prefer. Family members, you're probably going to speak casually with all of your family members, and this includes your parents. However, this depends on your relationship. Some people will still want to speak politely toward their parents, even as they become an adult themselves. So like, I'm an adult now, I have my own kids. Do I still need to speak extra respectfully to my parents? Most people nowadays don't. Some people still do. Again, it depends on your relationship. Is this something that you want to convey to the other person? I don't think I need to show any extra respect toward you. If that's something you want to convey, it can technically be used toward anyone. It might be rude though in some cases. Next, you always want to use casual speech if you're talking to animals because animals do not deserve any extra spoken respect. Now, this doesn't mean go out and hurt animals, but you're not going to be, 안녕하세요. 바둑이야. 안녕하십니까? 잘 지내셨습니까? 혹시 오늘 밥 드셨나요? 뭐 드셨어요? You're not talking with animals because you're not Dr. Dolittle. You don't show any politeness toward animals. This is just in general. Never speak politely toward animals in Korean. It is really awkward because you then look at the owner and use the exact same politeness level to them, or worse, a lower politeness level to them. This is saying you respect the animal more than you respect the person. So don't do it. Okay, Next, small kids. This is up to you. You can speak casually to small children, but some people still don't. Some people might want to use more polite speech to the kid, not honorifics, but a little bit more polite, the you form, because they want to kind of pretend that the kid is older than they look. Maybe it's a 3-year-old and you're like, 그래요. 그랬어요. You want to speak more politely because you want them to imitate what they're hearing. That's one side of it. Another side of it is just speak casually because they're little kids. They don't care. You don't need to show extra respect toward someone who's like throwing up every day and like picking up dirt and licking their fingers. Like, right? You don't need to show extra respect toward little kids. Sorry, I'm not insulting all the little kids out there. I'm sure your rocks and lint in your pockets taste wonderful, but you don't need to speak extra politely toward kids. Just use casual speech. Unless you want, then you can use regular polite speech, but do not use honorifics. When you're talking to yourself, also, do you look at the mirror and say, I'm going to show extra respect toward you? No, you're like, bro, we're literally bros. Or if you're a girl, your sisters. We're literally bros, bro. You don't need to show extra respect toward yourself when you're speaking. So you would never use polite speech, honorific speech, humble speech, any sort of nice speech to yourself. What does that say about us as a culture? We disrespect ourselves. But that's the way it is. You speak casually to yourself. If you're in the middle of an open field and there's no one around, you still would use casual speech when you're talking to yourself. It would be really awkward if you were polite to yourself. It sounds like you're respecting maybe your imaginary friend. They might think you're crazy. I'm not talking about you. Not you, Wilson. You're good. Other imaginary friends. They'll think you're crazy. So that's who you use it with. And one more thing to keep in mind. Billy, my best friend in Korea, he's actually 2 years older than me, but he told me I can speak casual speech. So that's what we do. Great. If you have permission from someone, they've exclusively told you that you can speak casually with them, even though the normal rules say don't, go ahead. You have the golden ticket to speak casually. You can yell, you can swear, you can use all the casual speech you want, almost. You can use all the casual speech you want to your friend when it's just you and your friend. This is something they won't tell you. But when you get permission to use casual speech with a friend who you normally wouldn't because they're older, do not use that same casual speech in public around other people, because it will look to other people who don't know about your secret arrangement that you're disrespecting your friend who's obviously older than you. So keep that in mind. He or she or they or whatever, they might tell you, you can speak casually with me. We're best friends. You can talk casually with me. But then as soon as you go out in public and there are other people around that could be listening, and it's clear that you're not the same age, especially if it's clear, other people could see that and think, what's that foreign guy speaking casually to that other person? Like maybe he doesn't speak Korean very well. They'll probably think that. Don't do it in public. Don't go meet their parents and then speak casually toward them if the parents know that you're younger. It can come across as being disrespectful in those cases. So just keep it between you and your friend if you get permission. Okay. I tried to make that as fast as possible. It took an extra 5 minutes, but I'm not surprised. Let's make this section fast. So then, how do you make casual speech? First, you get the you form. This is the hardest part because there are lots of exceptions. Once you get the you form, you remove the you. And you are done. Now you have 99% of everything you need to know to make casual speech. So, for example, actually, can you make this sentence? Can you make 2 sentences for me? I want you to do what I just said. Can you make these 2 sentences? Where are you going? Where are you going? And did you eat? Did you eat? So that's past tense. So where are you going? Did you eat? Can you make these 2 sentences for me in casual speech? There are no tricks here. Claire says, I'm realizing there are some benefits to being old. Yeah, so while you're making those sentences, I'll talk about that for a second. Being old, for one, you get cedar discounts, so it's pretty tight, if you ask me. It's also cool because you technically can be casual to anyone you want because you're older, right? You're like, I'm older than you, little whippersnapper. You know what I'm talking about. That doesn't mean you will, though. And still, when you meet other people that are similar, kind of around similar age as you still are going to be respectful. So it does make it easier in the fact that if you meet a college student, you can go ahead and use casual speech. But if you still want to sound respectful, you won't anyway. So it's a little bit more lenient. However, just being a non-Korean in the first place, not looking Korean, that alone gives you a really big jump in what native speakers will expect of you. That'll give you a big boost. So they won't expect you to speak perfectly in the first place. So those 2 combined, I think, yeah, that would be pretty nice. Okay, let's see what everyone's getting. Aniki says, 어디 갔냐? Okay, well, we're not doing 냐 yet. That's in the lesson today, but we're getting there. 밥 먹었어. Okay, yeah, 밥 먹었어? 어디 가? 어디 가? 어디에 가? Yep. 어디에 가? 밥 먹었어? Yep. 어디 가? 밥 먹었어? Perfect lexica, as well as perfect Aniki. 밥 먹어. 밥 먹어. 밥 먹어 would be, are you eating? Not did you eat? But yeah, this is pretty much it. You just make the regular sentence. For example, 어디 가요? Where are you going? Well, to make it casual, you just remove the 요. That's it. 어디 가? Now you have casual speech. Where are you going? 밥 먹었어요? Did you eat? 밥 먹었어? Did you eat? Now you have casual speech. Super simple. There are some exceptions. What do you do for honorific speech? Well, normally honorific speech is the 으시다 ending, which in the 요 form becomes specifically 으세요. But you can't remove the 요 from 으세. This is actually, there's like an older grammar form that does use this, but this is not how you do it. To make any tense except the present tense, you just use the regular 으시다 honorific ending. If you haven't learned honorifics, just ignore this. It's for people who already know honorifics. So how do you conjugate this? Well, it's the same. Same as normal. 으셔. That's it. Past tense, 으셨어. That's it. You just don't use 으세요 to make the present tense because you can't remove the 요 from 으세요. So let me give you an example. 할머니가, my grandmother, 지금, right now, 집에, at home, 안 계시다 is to not exist, to not be at home. 안 계시다, normally in the 요 form would be 안 계세요. But in the casual speech, it would be 계셔. 할머니가 지금 집에 안 계셔. So grandmother is not at home now. Notice it still uses honorific speech because honorific speech is about who you're talking about. And casual speech, using the yo form or not, casual speech is about who you're talking with, who you're directly talking to. So this sort of sentence you could say to your friend, but you're still showing extra respect to your grandmother, just not toward the person you're talking with, your friend. The next exception you need to know is about the verb ida. Ida meaning to be. Well, normally you conjugate this in the yo form as either ieu or yeu, and that'll be ieu after a consonant or yeu after a vowel. But you can't do this, ie and ye. I've never seen this. It actually kind of looks cute. If you did this mistake, Koreans would probably like smile and think, oh, that's so cute. But it's totally wrong. What you do instead is use ia or ya. So after a consonant, this will be ya, and after a vowel, this will be ya. So I want you to make these two sentences. It's my house. It's my house. So you're going to use ida. You're going to use house. 집. And the next sentence I want you to make is, if you can, I will do it today. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to use the future tense koshida form. So it's going to have ida. So it's my house. I will do it today. Traga, perfect. Aniki, perfect. Aniki, perfect. Yep. I'm not going to read them out loud because I don't want to spoil it from anyone else who's trying to do the sentences, but great job. Lexica, perfect. Traga as well, perfect. Everyone, feel free to try it out. If you can't get the sentence, but you still understand the concept, that's fine too, because you might not have learned every other part of the basic grammar to make these sentences in the first place yet. Lexica as well, perfect. Although I would use nega, but your sentence is still correct. Since you're saying I'll do it today. Merav, small, you want to use ia after a consonant, but your other sentence is correct. Herkwa, yes, nice. Yes, yes. Tibia, yes. Yes. Gotta keep looking at the sentences. Yes, yes. Yes. You don't know who I'm saying yes to, but if I didn't point out a mistake, yours is probably okay. You could have 내 집, my house, or 우리 집, like my house as in my family's house. 우리 집이야. It's my, as in my family's, house. 이야, after a consonant. 오늘, today, 할 거예요. 할 것입니다. 할 거야, because this is ida, and after a vowel, it just becomes ya. So, I will do it today. It's my house. 우리 집이야. 오늘 할 거야. These sentences are not connected, just two examples. And the same thing applies for the verb 아니다. However, 아니다 though is the same no matter what it comes after. It's always just 아니야. 아니야. So 아니다 to not be becomes 아니야. 우리 집이 아니야. It's not my house. 우리 집이 아니야. It's not my house. Okay. Good, I'm back on schedule. All right, so there are a bunch of other things we have to know about using casual speech, but the number one is just don't add the yo. So if you can do that, you're going to be 99% of the way there. Next, we have to talk about a bunch of common words you need to know. When you want to say I or me in casual speech, you must use na. You cannot use tall. Why? Because tall is humble speech. Actually, it shows extra respect toward the person that you are speaking to. In this case, So if you use 더는 할 거야. Yeah, casual speech shows that you are not showing any extra respect, but 더 is like you're lowering yourself to show extra respect. So it's like, my dear sir, might I let you know one thing that's so important. I'm gonna go. Like, see you later, bro. Sir, if I might inquire of you, mightest thou give me 1 second to explain my later, dude. It doesn't match. It's not as funny as I thought it would be in my head. It doesn't match. You can't match casual speech with humble speech. So you would never say 드릴게, like humble speech 드리다 to give someone something. 그래 드릴게, like I'll give it to, I mean, it could be about someone else. Like I'll give it to them for you, to you, my friend. Like I'll give it to my grandmother. Yeah. But if you're talking about to the speaker, it doesn't make any sense. So you wouldn't use 더 with casual speech. You have to use 나. Just know that. Why? Also, 나 does not lower the speaker. It simply is neutral. So using 더, though, lowers the speaker. So you can't lower the speaker and then be like, later, bro, and in the same sentence. It would sound really awkward. Next, if you want to say yes, well, normally you would use 네, 예, 네, okay. But if you're speaking casually, you cannot use these because these are polite. Instead, what do you use? You use 응, oh, yeah, yes. You do not use these casually. It would be really weird to say 네, 할 거야. Because 네 is polite. 네 is like, yes, I understand. All right. I'm going to do it. So you'd say 응 or all. If you want to say no, this is not the same as 아니에요, which is 아니야 in polite speech. This is the word no in Korean. You're not saying it isn't, you're just saying the word no. 아니요. Well, how do you make this casual? Can you take a guess how we can make this casual? Do. I can't keep going. I'll get copyright claimed, but yeah. Yeah. We're going to be talking about Day Fowler as well. We're not done talking about that. That's the casual version of no. 아니. You just remove the 요. And 아니야 is not the same as 아니 because 아니 is just no. 아니야 means it is not or someone is not. Something is not because that's from the verb 아니다, to not be. Okay. So I said you have to use 나 instead of 더. That's not only the word 나, but that includes 나는, 내가, 나의, or 내, right? All of that stuff is included. There's one more really big word we have to talk about. It's really big because I wrote it like that. And that is 너. Now, I'm going to guess that the majority of people watching right now don't know how to use this word correctly. Okay, so this word means you, but it is not a regular word you should be using when you're speaking casually. This has restrictions for when you can use it. First of all, before we talk about those, this is used when you're saying like 너는, 내가, we'll talk about this one in a second. And also if you're saying 너의, like someone's, your, something, which is also shortened to just 내. This combination officially is pronounced 내. But nobody says it that way. Not no one. It's rarely said that way. most of the time, what people actually say instead is a dialect word, ni. Ni. Now, ni is actually dialect. It's in Gyeongsang dialect. So if you go to Busan, Daegu, Ulsan, those cities, you'll hear it. So it's originally a dialect, but it's used all over Korea to replace this sound. Now, it's still written this way, but it's pronounced as ni. So instead of saying 내 집, your house, you would say 니 집, like that. Why? Well, I have a reason, I have a guess, because the word for my, 나에, is 네. But this sound, over time, these sounds have become the same. Nowadays, they're both pronounced the exact same. You would say eh. However, originally, say 20, 30 years ago and before, these were slightly different. In fact, when I first learned Korean, I was still learning that they were different, and I was instructed how they were different. Nowadays, they're the same. So these sounds would have been a little bit different, but now are the exact same. 네. So how do you tell if someone said 내 집 or 내 집? 네. Very slightly different. This one would be with wider lips. That's the main difference. So 네. It's very, very small. They're said pretty much the exact same way. So to make it clearer who you're talking about, this is preferred. They'll use this one. Okay. So that's all you need to know, is that if you see this, it's ni. Now, at risk of being demonetized by YouTube, I'm not going to read these because who knows if the AI system is going to think I said something I didn't, but it's completely normal in Korean. Just know that it is always ni. You said, Traga says you hear many Koreans say noga. That is actually, that's non-standard Korean. That is more non-standard than ni, because no actually has to become ni. There's a reason for that, which is maybe for a Korean FAQ video in the future. It's because there originally was an e sound after these words, like tol. It was actually tol i ka originally for tega. So there's like a long explanation for that. But noga is sometimes used by people, and it kind of sounds like a dialect, whereas ni, although it is dialect, doesn't sound like dialect because it's so commonly used. Noga sounds like noga, and as well toga, they sound like wrong. They sound awkward. In fact, I was talking with some Koreans about this, some Korean teachers about toga, noga, like that. It sounds, toga especially sounds really weird. Like they don't sound like just a slightly different variation. It sounds like someone is saying something wrong. So you might hear people misusing it, but don't do that yourself. It sounds really awkward in some cases with other words too. Like if you were to say na ka, that's like really wrong. So yeah, keep in mind, if you might see other people using like toga or noga doesn't sound too bad, but toga sounds horrid. Yeah, and then who knows, maybe 10 years later, one of those could be more common. But as of right now, they sound a bit awkward, so I'd avoid using them. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so then how do you use no? First of all, you can only use this if you are talking with someone who you're close with and they are the same age as you or younger. Why? Because this word has the feeling of not just, I don't need to show extra respect toward you, but it also feels like you're slightly talking down to someone, like you're either putting them on the same level or slightly lower than you when you talk to them. Now, it's not rude in itself. If you use this to your friends who are younger than you or the same age, it's not rude. But it definitely doesn't sound soft, and it doesn't sound polite. Never use no. I don't often just say never because there are exceptions, but never use no to someone who is older than you. Even if they are your friend, although they'll forgive you, Even if they're your friend and they told you that you should speak casually to them. Just 그냥 반말해. 그냥 반말하자. 어차피 친구니까. Just speak casually to me, bro. Okay. No, nope, nope, nope. Stop. Even if you have permission from an older friend to speak casually with them, this is not what they mean. This word is not part of general casual speech. So if you use this word, it sounds rude. The exception to that would be if you're like a couple, because couples might speak however they want to each other. Who cares? You know, boyfriend says, oh, I'm going to speak, even though we're the same, even though you're 1 year older, I might say no to you. And they're like, oh, it's okay. You know, whatever. That's whatever the couple wants to do. But for regular friendships, even my close friends who are a little bit older than me, I can never use this word to them because not that I couldn't, it just feels, it would rub everything the wrong way. It just feels like, no, don't use it. Friends who are the same age or younger and you're close, it's okay. For anyone else, it kind of sounds like you're trying to start a fight because it sounds like you're putting them right below you on the social ladder. Like, yeah, you know, you. It's like talking down almost to someone. Again, it's not rude if it's used correctly. It doesn't sound rude if you use it to your friends and they're younger. Totally fine. But it would sound rude if you used it to anyone older. So that's what you have to keep in mind. Okay, we're not done though. Names. So how do you call... Actually, let's talk about first, how do you talk about a friend? Do you just use their name in casual speech? What do you think you do? Does anyone know? How would you talk about your friend? Let's say you have a friend named 진영. Actually, let's do Jungkook. Your friend Jungkook, okay? You're friends with Jungkook. How do you say his name? How do you say Jungkook went to the park? How do you say Jungkook went to the park? Casually. Park, I'll tell you park, is 공원. How do you say Jungkook went to the park casually? Just try it. It's okay if you get it wrong. I'm actually trying to kind of trick you if you don't know this anyway. Not Jungkook가. This is talking about someone. You're not calling out to him. You're talking about him. You're saying Jungkook went to the park. How do you make that sentence? You're not saying Jungkook went to the park. You're saying Jungkook went to the park. If you get it wrong, I'm actually going to be happy because then I get to teach you something. So don't worry about it. If you get it right, I'm also happy because you already know it, which is great. Okay, I see a few people actually got it right. A few people got it perfect. A few people got it wrong, but that's totally fine. Because this is a bit confusing normally. I'm going to straighten it out. Okay, I see some here. So-An TV, nice. Although, are you Korean? I don't know. Sometimes I'll have Koreans pop up in this and they'll write an answer and it's perfect. I'm like, wow, your Korean's really good. Oh, you're a native speaker. Jungkook 씨, okay, you're trying to avoid everything. You're being polite. You're like 가요, and you're adding 씨. I mean, yeah, you're correct, but this is not what we're doing. It's casual speech, Linda. Casual. You have to be casual. I'm making you be casual to Jungkook right now. Okay, so there is an answer. There are a bunch of wrong answers there could be, but there is a right answer. To talk about someone casually. So this is someone who you don't show any extra respect toward. They're your friend, the same age as you or younger. Or if you're on a first name basis with your older friend, sure, but usually not. You take their name, and if it ends in a consonant, you attach E. So if your friend's name is 진영, 진영 ends in a consonant, so you would say 진영이, and then you would add any other markers or anything else you would do. If your friend's Jungkook, Jungkook ends in a consonant, so you wouldn't say 정국은, you would say 정국이. And then you could say 정국이는, like that, or 정국이가. If their name, however, ends in a vowel, you just use it as is. So this is only if their name ends in a consonant. So if we're talking about our friend, let's just say here, if you have a friend named Yura, you just say Yura는 whatever. Yuraga whatever. But if it ends in a consonant, then you add E before you talk about that person. However, if you want to talk about older friends, you have two options. 형, 오빠, 언니, 누나, older brother, older sister. So if you're close friends with someone but they're older than you, you can, with their acceptance of this, not everyone's okay with this. If they're okay with it, you can call them your 형 if it's an older male friend and you're a male, or 오빠 if they're an older male friend and you're a female, 언니 if they're an older female friend. Actually, I should write this different. Hold on, let me rewrite because I put them in the wrong order for explaining it this way. This way it'll be a little bit easier to take notes. Okay. If they're older than you and they're a guy and you're a guy, then you call them 형. If you're a girl, you call them 오빠. Or if they're older than you and they're female, well, if you're a guy, you call them 누나. If you're a girl, you call them 언니. There, kind of like that. I mentioned though, not always, because some people are not happy with this. You might call someone your 형, but they feel uncomfortable about it because they feel like, yeah, I'm your friend, but we're not really that close, like that you can call me by a family member term. Or maybe they insist that you call them 오빠 because they're an older guy. Well, that's just creepy. But they insist, oh yeah, I'm older than you, so call me your 오빠. You're like, I don't really want to because that makes us like really close friends and I just kind of know you and I don't consider you that close of a friend. Don't just assume that you can call anyone these words just because they're an older friend, male or female. Ask. I have some female friends that are older than me. I don't call any of them 누나 because it kind of has the feeling of like, you're older than me and haha, you're older than me. Some people might not like that. Some people might not like being reminded every time you call their name that they're older than you. One of my friends I have though is quite older than me and she would like if I called her 누나. I don't, but because then it kind of feels like, oh, I'm just a little bit older than Billy, right? Check with the person before you call them something. So don't just assume. These are not automatic that you get to call someone by this. Check with them. They might like it and they might not. So you have this as one option. Another option you have is using their name just like before and then attaching 형 on the end. So if you have your friend's name is Charsu and he's older than you, well, you could say Charsu 형. You could just say 형. You wouldn't just say Charsu because he's older than you, but you could say Charsu 형 like that. Okay, so that's how you talk about someone, putting their name into a sentence. But if you want to call out to them, there's a different thing you have to do. If their name ends in a vowel and you want to call out to them, like say, hey, Charsu, you attach ya. Nowadays, actually, some people will simply call out names without doing either of these. But typically, you're going to add them. So if you're calling out to your friend Charsu, you don't say Charsu, you say Charsu ya. Now, this is a casual way to call out to them, but you would do it like this. If their name ends in a consonant, you would attach ah. So if their name was 정국, like before, 정국아. 진영아, like that. Ya and ah. So this is only when you're calling out to them. This is not when you're talking about them. So a few people had in their sentences ya and ah at the end of their names. That's, I know why you did that, because these are sometimes confused. This is for when you're calling out to them. So you could say, 정국아, 어디가? 정국, where are you going? 공원에 가? Are you going to the park? But it doesn't mean 정국 goes to the park. It would mean 정국, are you going to the park? It's like calling out to them. So again, for calling out to someone. How are we on time? Okay, we're okay on time. All right. I know there's a ton of stuff through this that we're doing in this lesson. I'm just trying to make sure we keep it under to finish by 3 o'clock, but I have some more sentences. Let's talk about now some casual grammar. So this is grammar you can only use when you're speaking casually. Now, any grammar form can be made casual, pretty much. Just change the conjugation to ia at the end, or don't add the yo, right? But there are some specific forms that are only used in casual speech and that you cannot make polite. For example, ta. Take an action verb stem and attach ta to the end. And now you have a command, and now you have a suggestion that means let's. And it is only casual. There is no version, tayo. That means just, I'm going to go to sleep. 지금 타요? I'm going to bed. So you take an action verb stem and you attach ta, and that means let's, and it's only casual. So I want you to make the sentence, let's go. Let's go. Let's see, Stella's mom. Oh, hey, Stella's mom. If he's older, 오빠가 공원에 갔어. Yeah. Tragus says, all Koreans I speak with prefer when I call them just by their name. Do you think the rule is changing among young people? Are they older than you? And yeah, some things are changing with younger people, but it's not quite yet where I would say it's the new norm. So some things you'll see, oh, the younger people are doing this, but it's not in everyone yet sort of thing. So I'm hesitant to say, oh, you should do it like this too, because it's not the majority yet. But if I notice that things start to change a certain way, then definitely I'll teach them. But not every trend in language ends up sticking very long. So, and sometimes I'll see new trends like, oh, I see people are doing this now, but it doesn't stick around enough so that it doesn't become like an actual rule yet. Yes, 가자, Aniki, Lexica, Traga, perfect. Younger friend, yeah, younger friends would prefer you just call them by their name. Sue, amazing. Nope, the and ya are for calling out to them, and those are also only in casual speech. 보자, yes. Dave Fowler, that's a good question. I actually have a whole course about that because this is a big topic. If someone uses na, however, ends their sentence in yo, you might see a native Korean speaker doing that when they're teaching Korean because they're not really sure about how it works. But if an actual Korean uses that, what it will be is someone older. So I would say 40s, 50s, 60s, around there. Na means I don't consider that I need to lower myself to you. Yo, however, shows I want to show some extra respect to not be rude. So it's basically saying, well, I'm much older than you. I don't need to lower myself down to you. You're not above me. You're not my superior. You're not like a older person because I'm much older than you. But at the same time, I'm not going to say I don't need to show you extra respect. I'm not going to use casual speech to you. I want to be polite. So that's their way of balancing. Well, yeah, I'm older than you. I know you would speak politely to me, but I don't want to act like I'm talking up to you. I'm older than you after all. So I'm going to say nah, but I don't want to sound like I'm being rude and dismissive of you. So I'm going to use yo. So it's kind of a combination of that. And it's common among older speakers of Korean. Younger people, when they use it, the only times I've seen younger people use it have been some native speakers that are teaching Korean and they'll use it in their example sentences, not knowing that it's confusing for learners like someone like myself. Learn Korean translation via ChatGPT. That sounds like a horrible way, or I should say that sounds like a great way to learn some wrong Korean. ChatGPT in its current form is not artificial intelligent. It's basically just spitting out the stuff it already read on the internet, and a lot of that is wrong. So be careful. Kai, hey Kai. Billy, big fan. I'm an anxious beginner and you make Korean feel less overwhelming. Thanks for all your effort and enthusiasm. P.S. Also just joined your Patreon. Oh, thanks so much, Kai. I'm going to give you 10 dabs for your donation. Whew, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But yeah. For ChatGPT, as of the current day, it is not intelligent. If someday they can find a way to make it actually intelligent, I'm totally going to recommend something that works for everyone, okay? I'm not going to try to keep things away from you so that you have to stay in my ecosystem of learning Korean or something dumb like that. If there's something cool that works, I'll tell you. ChatGPT right now is not useless for Korean, but for a beginning learner, I wouldn't go anywhere near it because it's going to tell you things that it's 100% confident about that could be correct and probably is most correct. But the small things that it's wrong on are going to be really wrong and you'll have no way of knowing. It could, though, be useful if you want to just kind of practice what you're learning. Like, hey, I learned this today. Let me make a sentence and ask ChatGPT if it's correct. It'll just tell you if it makes sense or not. Like, that's good. You know, you don't need to learn from it. You can just kind of practice with it. Like, hey, I'm just going to make some sentences and see if ChatGPT says it's okay. Okay, but then don't trust its feedback because, again, it doesn't actually think. It's just regurgitating what the next probable word will be based on things it's read on the internet. And as someone who learned Korean themselves and used the internet a lot, there's so much wrong information about Korean still today. So many wrong lessons about topics. So I wouldn't really trust my learning with that. But just for extra little like practice, sure. It's not going to hurt you as long as you're not learning from it. Okay. Next. Okay, so that's it. If you want to say, let's go. Well, the verb to go is 가다. You just remove the 다. You attach 다. There are no exceptions to this. 0. 가자. Let's go. Even if you have like a really weird verb that's like tons of exceptions normally. Nope. 자. 살다. To live. 살자. 굽다. To bake. Normally this is an irregular. Nope. 굽자. You get the idea. The next casual grammar form we need to learn is 라. Now, this one, you take a conjugated action verb and you attach 라. So that would be like 하다 becomes 해. 가다 becomes 가. 먹다 becomes 먹어. Like that. So just the regular casual speech version of any action verb, you attach 라. This is a strong command. But it kind of has a friendly feel to it. So it's not like a harsh command, like you're commanding someone, do it now. But you're kind of like saying, come on, just do it. Like, just hurry up and do that. It has a slightly friendly, casual feel to it. So let me give you an example. Actually, why don't you make this sentence? I'll tell you what it is after, so don't worry if you can't make it. Try eating this. Try eating this. I'm going to write the verb you need, but go ahead and try that out first. Try eating this. So you're going to give it as a command, like, hey, try eating this. It's not harsh, but it's a strong command. You're going to want to use the verb 먹다, but you're going to use the verb 먹어보다 to try eating something. So 먹어보다. Normally you tell someone 먹어봐요, 먹어보세요, 먹어봐. But now you're going to say not just try eating it, but like try eating it. It's a bit of a stronger command. So try eating this is what I want you to make. Aniki, perfect. Traga, perfect. Lexica, perfect. Rand says, what about Papago Translate? Yeah, actually Papago Translate is safer than ChatGPT because it doesn't offer anything besides translation. Although sometimes ChatGPT can translate things better than Papago. It depends. I've seen sometimes where ChatGPT does an amazing job at translating, even better than Papago, and other times where I've seen it just hilariously fails. But it's not useless. Just understand that the answer ChatGPT gives you might be wrong for everything you ask it. In that case, it's a useful tool. So you can say, hey, translate this sentence. I checked it on Papago. I don't know what it means. And it'll give you a translation and it's similar to Papago. So you're like, okay, I could probably trust it. Tell me why the sentence uses this word. Oh, here's the reason, blah, blah, blah. Don't trust it 100%, but kind of use that as a starting point. Like, oh, it says it's because this word means this. You can check it on Naver Dictionary. Oh, that's right. Okay, now I can trust this answer. Do that and it'll be a lot safer. Do you have to space? No. For auxiliary verbs, you can space or not space, and they're both accepted. However, the official better spacing for any auxiliary verb, like any verb that's being used to help another verb and not used for its literal meaning, like the 보다 form, like for example, the official way to do it is to space, but it's accepted to not space. Oops. 이거 먹어봐라. 이거 먹어봐라. Here, try this. So it's a little bit stronger than just saying 먹어봐. But it's not harsh. It's just a bit stronger than that. So only use it casually. Only use it to your close friends. There's one more really common grammar that you should know. Aniki was using it before. That is nya. You take a verb stem and you attach nya to the end. This is a strong question form. So instead of asking something, 어디 가? So instead of asking 어디 가, like where are you going? Now it's 어디 가냐? Where are you going? It has a stronger feel to it. There are some exceptions for this, but it's not specifically for this form, but anytime you see a grammar form. So this is, again, this is a general exception for every grammar form that starts with this letter, nian, the N letter. Anytime there is any grammar form like this, they all have the exact same exceptions. You're going to do the same verb exceptions that you would do for other conjugations. So that would include verb stems that end with this letter. You'll remove it. Verb stems that end with this, they'll conjugate normally with the u, right? Just keep that in mind. Anytime you have a grammar form that has this letter, it basically activates everything else. But most verbs, you don't need to do anything with that, so it's okay. Again, that's not exclusive to this form. That's every single grammar form that has this letter. There are a lot of them. Okay, so you take a verb stem and you attach 냐. So now instead of 어디 가, where are you going? Now you have 어디 가냐. Where are you going? It's just stronger. So only use it with your close friends. Alternatively, instead of 냐, you might also see 니. Used in the exact same way that has the exact same meaning, but while ni is still a bit stronger than just saying ka, it's softer than saying 냐. So it's kind of in the middle. 어디 가니? It's making it into a question. However, it's a less strong question. So you'll hear this one more commonly used. Females will more commonly use this one, but guys use it too. Males use it as well. It just is more commonly used by females because in Korean, typically, more commonly, females will use softer sounding grammar than males. but I use it too. It's not off limits. Just know that it's a softer sounding version. Oh, hey, evolving brain. Well, I have to erase this so I can make some space for evolving brain. What is this? Did I? Oh, I see. My my eraser ripped on this one corner. Evolving brain, thank you. Let me give you 5 dabs and I'm going to answer your question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Evolving brain asks, have you taught your brother any Korean lately? The last time I asked him about Korean was last year. He said he was going through the beginner course. I haven't asked him how it's going. I should ask him. I'll see him again in a couple weeks. Yeah, I'll see him again in a couple weeks. I'll ask him how his if he's still doing any Korean. I don't know. But yeah, he told me he was on his own going back and watching the beginner course, but I'm not sure if he ended up making it very far through that. I don't know, but I haven't taught him anything lately. No, not since the videos, which were all before COVID. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped, but not the only reason. But yeah, it was hard to meet up with him after that. So yeah, nya is stronger, ni is softer. Both have the exact same meaning. You'll hear both. Both used the same way. Okay. That is everything you need to know, for the most part, about how to speak casually. And that's the whole lesson. Yes, I finished right at 3 like I wanted. Okay, the stream's not over though. I'm gonna really quickly take a thumbnail image. Let me do something like that. Something like that will be the thumbnail image. Okay. I'm going to take questions about this lesson or about anything at all. It can be related to Korean or Korea or whatever for the next 20 minutes. And then we'll end the stream for today. So if you're only here for the lesson, you're good. But feel free to ask any questions. I can clarify if something didn't make sense. Rand, what is MYR? Hold on. Oh, it's like 50 cents. Awesome. I like how other countries have different minimums for the donation, so I get to see smaller amounts than $1. That's cool. Thank you, Rand. Rand is 50 cents, so 0.5. So I'm going to give you half of a dab. It's 1 dab per dollar is the current exchange rate. It depends on inflation, but yeah, it's about half a dab right now. So maybe up here. Yeah, up here. It's 50% of a dab. Thanks, Rand. Teddy says, must be gentle to women. Well, that's true. You don't want to be a jerk. But yeah, as far as that goes, like, you don't want to use all of the softer speech all the time, just because in Korean they might perceive you as being more feminine is what they might feel like, which is not a bad thing. It's just keep in mind that's how people are going to perceive you in Korea. Let's see. Can you give tips about adjusting when arriving in Korea for jet lag? Okay. And Linda, thank you, Linda. Let me just check Linda's. Oh, you didn't send a message. Do you have anything else you'd like to say, Linda? I can read it on the chat. Let me give you 5 dabs for your donation, Linda. Oh, hey, Evolving Brain also. Kosari o ko... Okay, that's a hard question. I'll have to... Okay, 5 dabs for Linda, and then 5 dabs for Evolving Brain, and then I have a couple questions to answer. Those are for you, Linda. And then for Evolving Brain, 5 more. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Linda says, just thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Evolving Brain asked something, and then Traga asked something as well. So let's see. Evolving Brain says, Kosari or Kodungo? That's Kodungo. That's easy. I know they're not in the same category at all. Kosari is what? Is bracken? Bracker? It's that, yeah, that weird vegetable. I think it's called like bracken. Let me check. Because it's not something we eat in the US, so I can't remember that. I think it's like bracken. Yeah, bracken, that's right. I was like, even though I knew the word, I'm like, it sounds wrong. Yeah, 고등어 is mackerel, which is also not a fish we have in the US commonly. So good. Mackerel is my favorite fish. And if there is an S tier of fish to have, like grilled fish, mackerel is S tier. It's above everything else. For raw fish though, I'm not gonna have mackerel in there. That's like low quality. Spanish mackerel though, however, is an S tier. But that's different than mackerel that we have that you normally would call mackerel. So anyway, and keep that in mind. If you ever want to have really good sushi, one of my favorites is Spanish mackerel. Don't let them tell you they have mackerel. No, it's a different fish, completely different fish. Spanish mackerel is what you want. And they're a different name in Japanese. I can't remember the name in Japanese, but they're different. It's a different fish. Okay, and then Trega asks, can you give tips about adjusting for jet lag when you arrive in Korea? Yes. The biggest tip, well, there are two big tips, but the biggest tip I think is eating. So eat like you're already adjusted to the jet lag. By that I mean, let's say you arrive in the morning at your flight is at 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you arrive at like 8, you get off the plane, 9 o'clock, you get back home, 10 or 11. What time do you normally eat lunch? Do you eat lunch at like noon? Okay, eat a lunch at noon. You're obviously not going to be that hungry, or maybe you're really hungry. Don't eat like a gigantic meal like you think you feel like. Just have a regular meal that you normally would eat at that time. Your body will adjust faster to the jet lag if your biological, like your stomach and all that stuff, your digestive system thinks that you're in the time zone. Like if you stay up late regularly and you eat regularly, it's really hard to adjust your sleep schedule because your body gets hungry at those times. So try to eat during the times you normally would eat. So have a basic lunch, have some dinner, drink extra water because you're going to be dehydrated because your body thinks that you're eating at a different time and it uses the water when you're not eating. Like while you're sleeping, your body's like, oh, now I am awake normally. I need to use my water so I can digest my food. Like it doesn't match. So you get really dehydrated when you switch time zones. That's a common thing. So drink more water than you think. I'll always fill up, like I have a gallon water bottle. I'll fill that up and I'll drink the whole thing throughout the day just to make sure I have enough water. Extra water, so eat at the right times. And then the other one is force yourself to stay awake until your regular bedtime, or at least a little before. So if you normally go to bed at like 10, but you're dying and you're so tired by like 3 in the afternoon, that's okay. Force yourself to stay awake. Get out of the house if you have to, like go walk, go somewhere else, meet a friend, just someone to help you stay awake at least until like 8. Like try to stay up kind of until your bedtime. If it's early in the day, so it's still like 9 in the morning and you've arrived and you're tired, you couldn't sleep on the plane, that's okay too. Drink caffeine, stay awake, just keep yourself doing something occupied, watch TV, eat some snacks until bedtime as much as you can. Like do not take a nap. That's the worst because your body will say, oh, I'm still in my old time zone. And you're going to pass out. Or worse, you're going to wake up after 2 hours for a nap and you think, oh, I just took a 2-hour power nap. You're in your mind, though, you only got 2 hours of sleep at nighttime. And now your brain's adjusting for the next day and it'll take an extra 2 days to adjust to the jet lag. So yeah, these are some tips that I do. It still will take you though, even if you do this, it'll still take you like a week before your body is more adjusted to the time. And several of the days will be you're hungry at the wrong times and tired at the wrong times. That's unavoidable. But for maybe a week, you'll still kind of feel weird during the daytime and weird at night, but at least it'll help you get over that faster instead of it becoming 2 weeks. So that's what I would do. Evolving brain. Hold on, evolving brain. I gotta put all these together. Hold on. First, you're asking about bracken and mackerel, and now you're asking about does North Korean panmar differ from South Korean panmar? They have different verb endings over there, so I have to say yes. But the generic way that it works, where how casual speech is about not showing extra respect toward the person you're talking to, is the same. So does it work the same way? Yes, but the words you use are going to be different. So they'll have different verb endings over there. I don't know all of their verb endings, so I can't give a lesson about North Korean casual speech, but maybe there's a native out there who can. And there aren't too many people who moved to South Korea as a teenager, but you'd have to ask someone like that, someone who moved to South Korea as a teenager who could tell you about the differences in casual speech with North and South, but that's not me. I'm not a North Korean dialect expert. What is the Evolving Brain? Another question from Evolving Brain. I'm not tired of your questions at all. I'm just joking. Evolving Brain asks, what is the etymology of pan in Panmar? It is actually half. So, all of these words, see if I'm missing any. These are all the basics. All of these words for types of speech levels end with maya. So you have casual speech, you have polite speech, you have honorific speech, you have humble speech. 존댓말 is polite, respectful. 높임 is raising. 낮춤 is lowering. 반 is half. So it's not full, regular. It's not full on polite speech. It's half of polite speech. So you're not being rude in itself, but you're not being polite. So that's why they call it half. It's like kind of in the middle. Like you're cutting off your words. It's only half of the word. That sort of meaning. That's really what it is. It's just the word pan from hanja with the Korean word mai. And there are actually combinations of 반존말. They have, when you speak with casual speech mixed in with polite speech, there is that type of speech as well. I've done a lesson about that actually in my Master Politeness Levels course. There's like a whole episode about it. That's what, if you want to get into like the nitty gritty of it. But yeah, basically that's all it is. It's just half. Yeah, semi, half. So it's like semi words. So your words are cut short and they're not quite polite. So it's like half of the politeness you would normally use. Hey, Kai again. Kai. I don't expect to see the same names more than once. I'm always really happy to see when I get repeat supporters of the channel. Let me give you 10 dabs real quick and then I'll answer your question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm only going to stream for another 10 minutes and then I have to turn it off for today. Okay, I'm starting a Korean journal, says Kai. In your opinion, I should only use vocab I can say correctly, or if I should write anything I can understand. Anything you can understand is fine. The point of a journal is just to get out what's in your head that you're practicing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just that you're writing something. If you're writing about your day, that's fine. That can be kind of boring though sometimes. You can also try writing like reviews for movies you watched. You can try writing letters to people, like imagining that you're writing a letter to someone. You can write just your Korean sentences. Like I'm going to practice some of my Korean sentences. Anything that you're writing is fine. It doesn't have to be like a journal because, journals can be difficult to write. It's just you're writing something. And you can use vocab. You can't say, even if you can't say it correctly, that's totally fine. Anything is fine for that. It's just that you're writing. If you want to get feedback on it, then maybe after you've written several journals, then bring that to a tutor and say, hey, where am I messing up here? And the tutor can be like, oh, I see you keep doing this every single time. Okay, then you can kind of get feedback on it. But I wouldn't be like hyper trying to micromanage how you're writing a journal, because that takes away all of the the very little bit of fun there is in writing a journal. There's almost none. The tiny bit of fun from writing a journal will go away if someone's doing that. So just get it down on paper. Then when you've gotten several entries, then you can try to get some feedback on it. But the most important thing is just writing something. I used to write stories. In fact, I still have somewhere a short story that I wrote in Korean after I'd been learning for about a year. It was about like a monkey. I can't remember what the story was. I like monkeys, but it was something about a monkey talking. And I wrote this short story. It was like, I don't know, I can't remember, 5-6 pages or something like that. I would do stuff like that for my Korean practice. It obviously wasn't a journal, but just something to practice writing. Happy to support you. Thank you. 반존대. Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole lesson about 반존대. Hold on. There's actually another word for it though too. There's 2 words for it. Let's see. Let me find the lesson that I did that in. Politeness levels. Evolving Brain has another question. All right, 1 second, Evolving Brain. Let me find the lesson that it was in. Yeah. No, okay, so it is lesson 19, Master Politeness Levels, lesson 19. It's called either 반존대 or 반존말. Same thing. So I'm not sure who said 반존말 does not exist. It does exist. It's just another way of calling 반존대. And yeah, it's just a combination of 반말 and 존댓말. So yeah, lesson, if you're curious about that, I'll put a link. Hold on, 19. There we go. Sorry, I have to like switch windows and stuff. Lesson 19 in that course goes over how to use it and what it is and why it's used. But I mean, once you've learned the feeling that each of the politeness levels has, all of the little intricate, like, what if this and this happens, become easy to answer. So yeah, but that's what the course is designed to do. It kind of says, here's how it's used, here's what it feels like. And now let's try putting them together. And here's what this is like. And obviously it would be like this. So a lot of this just makes sense naturally once you've learned the individual feelings. And then casual speech, of course, is that friendly feeling. Okay, Evolving Brain. Evolving Brain has another, I'm sure, insightful. Yeah, wonderful question, I'm sure. Or let's see. Okay, is there a Korean version of haiku? Yes, there is, and I can't think of it right now. I heard it once, but if you're asking if there is currently like a thing popular like haiku, I don't think so. But yes, there is type of a haiku in Korean. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Your best bet? No, I can't find it right away. I thought I had remembered learning that there is something like that, but not a common thing, but something. But no, you're just looking at general shijo, which is like poetry in Korean. So I would just search for that. But there isn't like a thing where everyone knows like, oh yeah, it's haiku. Nothing like that in Korean. Your second question though, write a Korean haiku. Okay. Where each line has a higher politeness level. That would be so awkward. Why would you do that? Like it would have to be addressed to different people. So you would start with 반말 and then you're addressing the next line to another person. Like 친구 어디 갔니? 엄마 왜 그래요? 할머니 잘 주무셨어요? Like it would have to go like that. So every line is addressed to a different person. I don't think it would sound very pretty. Like technically it could be a poem in the sense that it's written down, but not poetry as in anyone wants to read it. But that's pretty much what you have to do. And then you can't really get beyond, like, even though there are multiple politeness levels, there isn't really anything above that that's used, because then you go to the archaic politeness levels that are above typical honorific speech with Yule form and everything. Like hashimnika, that would be the next one. But then there's another one above that that's not used anymore outside of like historical dramas, like hashiomnika, like that. So it would be a very boring poem that really quickly gets awkward. Okay, let's see. Oh, Sue Amazing says, what's the difference between ta and takuna? Takuna is archaic. That's the one you'll see in like Korean dramas. Sorry, not Korean dramas. Historical dramas. Also, kajakuna. Yeah, the takuna is just an older form of the ta form. It sounds awkward if you use it now. It sounds like you're speaking like old style Korean. Aniki says, oh, sorry. Aniki said a question. Well, I skipped it because I'd gotten the questions in the meantime, but when using uroine with a verb, would it be used with the kolyo? And also bonus question, how are tung and tawi different? Aniki, I have a live stream about the ine. I'd recommend watching that first, since that has examples, as well as the worksheet. Get the worksheet as well. That has examples of how to use it with everything. Ine, though, in itself isn't super common. Like, it's not one you're going to be using in your regular speech. Tung, you're like, kita dung dung. Like, that's etc. Tawi is anything like whatever noun it comes after. Like anything like this, but they're not used in the same way. Tung is going to be used as typically after a list of items. That means etc. And tawi means anything like that. Used after a noun, so not after a list. Evolving said it could be a poem about someone getting older and dying. Okay, I'm not a poet, and I know it. You would have to ask a Korean to write you a poem. I've never written a poem in Korean, at least not successfully. I think I did write a poem once, but I don't have it anymore. I do remember one time though writing a poem, trying to. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to write a nice poem. It would be ugly if I did it. Okay, just another 5 more minutes. Dave Fowler says, do you have a YouTube intermediate course? Yeah, the Master Politeness Levels course is intermediate. And there will be a course, but I'm not announcing it. So someday, I'll just say that. Someday there will be a course for intermediates. But in the meantime, if you're intermediate, this is my best thing you could do for intermediate, or reading the reading books. I have 2 Korean Reading Made Simple books. The first one's for beginner. The second one, which came out a few months ago, is this one's for intermediates. It's folk tales. And definitely this is intermediate level. I wouldn't go into this if you're like a new beginner. You need to at least know like basic grammar already to do this. But this one's like fully advanced level stories that are folk tales. And this would be okay for people who are intermediate level or advanced level. Oh no. It's okay. I dropped my drink, but I have a lid on so it didn't spill. Kai says, were you ever scared to start speaking Korean to people, or were you always confident? No, I've said this before in some videos, but I had still a little bit, but I had serious camera shyness. I made a video about anxiety for speaking Korean that talks about kind of how to deal with being, having anxiety or feeling uncomfortable about speaking Korean. And I related in that video to how when I first started this YouTube channel, I couldn't even look in the camera because I was too scared. Like I had too much anxiety. If I looked in the camera, suddenly I would forget my Korean. Like I couldn't speak, not just Korean, but like I couldn't talk very much. So I got around it by instead looking at myself, like off to the side in the camera viewfinder. And even that wouldn't help completely. Or I would look down at like my notes. anything else that I could do besides looking at the camera. I was just really nervous about that. And then same with speaking Korean. I couldn't like confidently say anything in Korean. I'd like look at the ground or like, you know, kind of like look around or look at them a little bit because I wasn't confident. Yeah. So that's your answer. No, I was not always confident. I still today though, today I'm much better though. Tips for getting over it were simply doing it a lot more, because it didn't happen just when I was getting conversational. It only happened when I got much better at Korean and I felt like I don't have to be nervous anymore because I can speak Korean. But there are some little things that helped. It's not like going to save you, but some little things that helped were speaking louder when you're speaking Korean. Because when you speak softly, like you want to not sound confident, but when you speak softly, it really hurts your overall perception, like of how they see you. They'll think you're speaking softly. Maybe you don't speak very much Korean, and it just makes everything even worse. So at the very least, if you're going to make mistakes in Korean and you're going to be nervous about speaking, at least do it loud so they can hear you. They're not going to ask you, what'd you say? Because they didn't hear you. They're going to ask you, what did you say? Because they didn't understand you, but you'll know that. I would say try to speak a little bit more loud. Like if you don't have confidence, try having confidence. You know, I know that's not a very helpful tip. Try to speak a little more loud. It'll also help you to improve your pronunciation, because one problem I had is I would speak softly and I would think my Korean pronunciation was good, but it was because you couldn't hear me making mistakes when I was speaking Korean. And when I start speaking more loud, you can hear how you're sounding. You're like, oh, wait, I'm saying this totally wrong. Also, it helps to have friends. So regular people you can speak with in Korean, not just you have to go talk to a stranger. That's really hard. Like going up to some person you're not very close with and practicing Korean, like a tutor, you know, conversation partner. That can be like really like anxiety inducing because you don't know them that well. It helps to have just friends you can just kind of open up and speak with. And you know, they're not going to care if you make mistakes. They understand you. That can kind of help to boost your confidence. So being able to have an outlet for practicing more, speaking louder, and then doing it a lot, eventually is what helped me kind of get over my camera shyness. Because when I first started this channel, my videos were very simple. I had only been studying Korean myself for, at that point, less than 7 years. So, I mean, I felt comfortable like teaching it to beginners, but I didn't feel comfortable doing too much more because I'm still, even today, a student. I'm still learning Korean. But at that point, even more so, I was like, oh no, I can't make any mistakes. You know, I got to teach this. I should speak softly so they don't think, not audience, but like just any Korean. So they don't think I can't speak Korean. I got to, you know, speak softly so they don't hear my mistakes. And if I make a mistake, they won't hear it. You know, this is the stuff that kind of just is a bad cycle that just makes things worse. So yeah, but I know what it's like. It's kind of hard. Just keep going. It eventually does get better, but it'll get better as your Korean gets better. Aniki, the worksheet doesn't have ine? It should. Stella said, average winter temperatures December to February is -10 to 0 Celsius. Yeah, very cold. And windy. That's something else that people don't tell you, is that Korea can be very windy and cold. So you might think that you're okay with freezing temperatures because you come from insert cold state. And that's true. But then when you go to Korea and there's like Arctic winds blowing over you and it's cold and your ears are like freezing and hurting, it's a little bit different. I'm fine with cold weather. I just wear a coat and gloves. But when it's windy, like it freezes my nose, it hurts my ears, all that stuff you have to be prepared for. So I just don't go to Korea during the winter time because it's just too cold. I'd rather be there during the summer where I'm suffering and sweating and dying, because at least I can move my hands. At least I can feel my face. I'd rather be sweating than like frozen. I can't even operate my camera in the winter. It's just too cold. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I should stop now. I want to keep going, but if you have any other questions, feel free to post them in the Discord channel. Put that here. No, I'm sure there's 인하다. Check 인하다. Not 인해, but 인하다 in the Google document. I'll post that too. I can't have not done a lesson about 인하다. But it's all from 인하다. So that might be how I classified it. Thank you everyone for coming. And next week there is no live stream, but the week after that we'll have 2 more live streams. And I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.